How to find the root of a chord. You are going to need to quickly and smoothly figure out what the root of a chord is, given some notes. That way you can figure out what the chord is. In order to figure out the chord, you got to know the root. The root, remember, is the note that gives the chord its name. The root is the note that gives the chord its name. So in order to name a chord, you need to find its root. In this case, it's quite simple. Here's an F, right? It's an F chord, and so I know that it's an F chord. Or I should say it's the F is the root, so I know that it's an F chord. So this is a trivial matter when the chord appears as a stack of thirds. Here's a stack of thirds. And so I can see that the bottommost of that little snowman, that stack of thirds, the bottom note is the F sharp. So that's an F sharp minor chord. Here's an E flat at the bottom of a stack of thirds. They're all line notes. So I can say that's an E flat augmented. Okay? Here the D is at the bottom of a stack of thirds, right? They're all space notes. And I know that it's a D major chord. Switching to bass clef, here the E is at the bottom, so I know that it's an E minor chord. Okay? Now again, right now we're not worrying about quality. Our main goal is to figure out the root. But as we go, I'll just be giving you the names of the qualities. Okay, so here the A is on the bottom. Again, stack of thirds. A on the bottom. It's an A major. Of course, you can just write A. It's an A chord. And here, C is on the bottom. It's a C major chord, or we can just write C. All right. That's all fine and well. But what about when a chord appears in inversion? So now it doesn't look like a stack of thirds. It doesn't look like a snowman. All the notes are on a mix of lines and spaces. And for starters, they're still going to be quite close together. So what do? We've got this chord, this chord, this chord, that chord, that chord, and they're all in inversion. In other words, the root of the chord, the note that gives the chord its name, is not in the bass. Remember that the bass and the root are different. So when the chord is in inversion, the root is not in the bass. So what are we going to do? Our main objective is to find the root of the chord. And here are 3 strategies. Okay? As we just said, you know that the root is the note that gives the chord its name. And we want to find out what the root is. Right? What's the root of this chord? What's the root of that chord? What's the root of that chord? What's the root of that chord? Or that chord? Or that chord? Yikes! So here's a simple strategy. Arrange the notes so that they make a stack of skips. You want to turn that association of notes, or that aggregate of notes, into a stack of skips. So how are you going to do that? Okay, you can do this on the staff, on the keyboard, or by collecting letter names. So here are 3 strategies. You can use the staff, the keyboard, like the physical keyboard with your actual fingers, not this on the screen, but your actual fingers. Very satisfying, making the sounds. Or by collecting letter names. I like the first 2 a lot better than the third one, but you can use the third one. Okay, on the staff, you're going to adjust the octave notes of the notes until you have a stack of skips. So you can do this with a pencil if you're working on paper, or in NoteFlight, you can use the Command up or down arrow to make, or the Alt up or down arrow, or it might be Control, to make the notes so that they are up or down, so that they make a stack. So here we go. Let's see. What would happen if I move this one down? Remember that inversion is kind of like just a conveyor belt. So I could play with this. I could say, well, what happens if I go like that? Oh, that doesn't look like it. So now I'm going to do the next one. Oh, there we go. Now I have a stack of thirds. And it won't surprise you, this is the same chord as before, F sharp minor. All right, so F sharp is our root here. All right, how about this one? Well, I'm going to move that up an octave. Oh, and I'll move that one up an octave. And I can just do that until I get a stack of thirds. Now, you might want to just do it a slightly different way, which is say, okay, here's a G. I'm going to add a G. And here's a B. And now I'm going to add a B. And so now I have 5 notes here. And I can look for the part of that structure that's a stack of thirds. Stack of thirds. Right? I'm putting Humpty Dumpty together again. Let's say if I start in the middle. Oh, I like the way that sounds, but that is not a stack of thirds. I've got to fill this in. This is a G. Over time, this becomes second nature. In fact, it becomes so second nature that you're going to look at this and you're going to say, oh, that's an A diminished triad. Okay? So, on the staff, you can adjust the octaves of notes until you have a stack of skips. On the keyboard, you can also adjust the octave of notes until they fit neatly under your first, third, and fifth fingers. Okay, so now I'm going to direct your attention down here to the keyboard. See, under my fingers, I have to stretch my pinky a little bit if I'm using my right hand between those 2 notes. So I'm going to move them around until now I can fit my fingers, and I know that this is some kind of an F, A, C. All right. So I'm adjusting the octaves of the notes until they fit neatly under my first, third, and fifth fingers. Remember, the more of this you do at the piano, the more utterly satisfying it is. Here's the next one. Now, that's an augmented triad, so I have to think a little bit more carefully here, because I've got to put this E flat down at the bottom to make it spell the way it's got to. All right, moving along. Okay, now the final way is by collecting letter names and arranging them so that they are in skip order. So here, and you can use a pencil. I'm just using the note flight stuff to do this. Here, what are the notes? Let's see. We've got an A, some kind of C, and some kind of F. A, B, C, D, E, F. Oh, there are 2 notes between C and F, so I've got to rearrange that so that F is, there we go. So now I know it's an FAC chord, and I know that F sharp is the root. Okay? Same thing here with this augmented triad. This will probably be a good case study for this. We've got a G, a B, and an E something. Notice I'm not worrying about the accidental. I'm just thinking about that. And then I say the alphabet to myself. G, and then I go A, B. That's a skip, right? G, A, B. And then B, C, D. Oh, there's too many. So now I'm going to move where the skip was. I'm going to move that to the beginning. E, G, B.